All right, welcome back to The Explainer. Today we're diving headfirst into the world of business. You know, it's a world of huge risks, incredible rewards, and, yeah, the very real chance of failure. So we're going to unpack what it really takes to come out on top.
And we're kicking things off with a true story. I mean, this is a seriously unbelievable example of what it takes to build a massive empire from, well, basically nothing.
I mean, how do you do that? It sounds impossible, right? Turning what's basically lunch money into a global empire. But look, this is no lottery ticket story. This is about an incredible journey that started on a simple street corner. So this is Daymond John. Now, you probably know him from the show Shark Tank, right? But his story goes way, way back. We're talking 1989. He had a simple idea and, get this, just $40 worth of fabric. He started sewing hats himself by hand and selling them right there on the streets of Queens, New York. And his climb from there was just staggering. He knew he had something big, but he needed cash. And that's where the first huge, monumental risk came in. His mom mortgaged her house for $100,000 to fund his dream. Can you imagine? The brand FUBU officially launched, but, it was a real struggle for years. Until the big turning point. He got hip-hop legends like LL Cool J to wear his stuff, and boom, demand just exploded. And the result of all that risk, all that struggle, over $6 billion in worldwide sales. Just incredible.
So, Daymond John's story. It's basically a masterclass in the fundamentals of business. So let's break it down. Let's decode the language that every single entrepreneur, whether you're selling hats on a street corner or you're a big-time CEO, absolutely has to know.
Okay, so everything, and I mean everything, starts with this one word, profit. It's the whole point, right? It's the reason you take the risk in the first place. Put simply, it's just the money you have left over after you've paid for everything else. Your materials, your employees, the rent, all of it. Whatever's left, that's your reward.
But, of course, there's always a flip side, and that is loss. A loss is what happens when your expenses, what you spend, are more than your revenues, what you make. And, this is a really harsh reality for a lot of people. In fact, something like 20% of all small businesses in the US, they don't even make it past their first 5 years.
And that brings us to maybe the most important idea of all, risk. It's that calculated gamble that's at the absolute heart of every single business. It's the chance that you could lose it all, your time, your money, everything. Think back to Daymond John's mother mortgaging her house. That wasn't just some numbers on a spreadsheet. That was the roof over her head. Now that is some serious high-stakes risk.
So really, it all just boils down to this super simple kind of brutal equation. If your revenue is more than your expenses, you've got a profit. Great. But if it's the other way around, you've got a loss. And really, every single decision a business makes is all about trying to stay on the profit side of this equation.
But look, making a profit takes more than just a great idea and a lot of courage. You need the right stuff, the right ingredients. Economists have a name for them, the essential building blocks for creating wealth.
And there are 5 of them: land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship, and knowledge. Now, the first 3, they probably sound pretty familiar, right? But it's those last 2, entrepreneurship and knowledge, that are the real game changers here. Okay, so here's what's so cool about this idea. You've got land, labor, and capital. Natural resources, workers, money. But by themselves, they're just ingredients sitting on a counter. They don't do anything. The magic, the secret sauce, comes from the other 2. Daymond John's vision, his willingness to bet it all, that's entrepreneurship. And his deep understanding of his culture, his customers, that's knowledge. Those are the sparks that ignite the other 3 and actually turn them into a real profitable business.
Okay, but even if you have all the right ingredients, no business is an island. It doesn't operate in a vacuum. It exists inside this bigger, constantly changing environment. Think of it like an arena that can either help you grow or throw up some serious roadblocks.
Yeah, think of it just like this. Right in the middle, you've got the business, doing its thing, trying to grow. But it's completely surrounded by these powerful forces that it can't always control. It can't control them, but it has to react to them. So let's take a look at some of the biggest ones.
All right, first up, you've got the economic and legal environment. This is basically the world the government creates. We're talking about things like taxes, contract laws, even how stable the currency is. If a government makes it safe and predictable to do business, well, that's a government that's actively encouraging people to take those risks.
Next up, and this one is huge, technology. I mean, it has completely changed the game, hasn't it? The internet, e-commerce, social media, they've blown open markets all over the globe. Businesses now use tech for literally everything, from scanning barcodes to manage inventory to analyzing tons of customer data to give you a more personalized experience.
And then there's the competitive environment, which has gotten so much more intense. Let's be real, today's customers, we expect amazing products and top-notch service. And if a company doesn't deliver, we're just a few clicks away from going somewhere else. So to succeed, businesses have to be constantly listening to their customers and really trying to go above and beyond.
And you can't forget the social environment. This is all about people. We're talking demographics, basically the study of a population. Big trends like growing diversity or an aging population, they aren't just interesting facts for a report. For businesses, they create massive new challenges and huge new opportunities.
So just think about this one number. By the year 2050, it's predicted that in a lot of developed countries, the population of older adults is going to shoot past 20%. That's 1 out of every 5 people. That's not just a small shift, folks. That's like a monumental demographic earthquake.
So what does a number like that actually mean in the real world? Well, it means a gigantic, growing demand for all kinds of products and services designed for this group. Think about it. Specialized healthcare, travel that's more accessible, new kinds of entertainment, in-home care. The list goes on. The key thing to remember is this. Every major social trend is also a major business opportunity. So when you put all these forces together, the legal, the tech, the social stuff, they have totally reshaped the US economy over the last 100 years or so. And that has led to a massive shift in where you can find the jobs and where the real opportunities are today.
I mean, the U.S. has gone through this incredible transformation. We went from an economy based on farms to one built on factories, and now, overwhelmingly, it's an economy built on services. Just look at this. A whopping 78% of the entire workforce is in the service sector. In fact, pretty much all of the country's new jobs since the mid-'80s have come from this one area. We're talking everything from healthcare and software to entertainment and your local coffee shop.
And, that really brings us to you. Because whether you dream of being a risk taker, like Damon John, or maybe you want to work for a big company, or even a nonprofit, you're going to be a part of this whole dynamic environment. And just understanding these forces, that's the crucial first step.
And that, right there, is really the key takeaway. The world of business is never, ever standing still. Technology is always changing, society is always shifting, and new markets are constantly being born out of the old ones. The story is always being written. So the only real question left is, where are you going to find your opportunity? Where will you find your risk to take and your profit to make? Thanks for joining us on The Explainer.